We got a visitor with Allison.
Mm-hmm. Say
Hi,
hey.
Mac. Hi, Mac. All right. As you two know, we talked a little bit through texting on the phone about the fact that we may try blended classrooms to get our children used to virtual learning. They had a little experience last spring, but in the event we go home again, we've got some videos prepared so they can try it in the classroom at the beginning of the year. And Allison teaches at Albertville Elementary. Brianna teaches at Boaz Intermediate. So they needed to, since you two needed to start in different places, we discussed that Allison would do compare and contrast for informational text, and Brianna, to go along with her school scope and sequence, is going to be doing summarizing with informational text. So y'all have those videos ready for me, and I appreciate that very much. And I'm going to team teach with you and add to the end of your videos an extension activity where the students will practice responding to text by using Padlet, which is an online type bulletin board. It's almost like they can hang Post-its on a poster, but they can put their thoughts on a wall. And I'm going to demonstrate for you how to use Padlet, and then maybe y'all will like to use it in your classroom too. All right, do you have any questions about Padlet?
I do have one question.
Okay.
Do they use Padlet with their Google account? Or do they also have to create an account?
No, you put it, I went through that demonstration, and when I send you the slideshow that the kids will use, it talks about how they go straight to Google Classroom. Here is the Padlet slideshow. I have to tell you a little bit more about it. We're going to use it to share responses in literature and for collaborative learning. Padlet is a web app that lets users post notes on a digital wall. However, there are many more options. You'll see some icons for the options. I'm exploring one I haven't used before, but I am giving you this PD based on a digital wall, which is a response wall. Step one, you go to Padlet.com. You click sign up for free. There's different ways to sign up, and the Microsoft package is an option. You can just have an account, but if you have a Google account, they'll give you the option to sign in with that, and you'll need to do that since we all three of us use Google Suite for Education, because Padlet will let you, if you sign in through your Google account, directly assign your Padlet to your students on their Google Classroom. Step two is you'll see this screen with these 4 options, and you'll go to Make a Padlet. Step 3, these are the different ways we can use Padlet that I was talking about. And the only one that I'm real familiar with is posting on the wall. But I'm exploring back channel because it's just like a chat board, a comment back and forth. So if we're practicing social distancing, and I have blended learning going on in my room, I may have one group after they read and they're looking at a question, and I want them to have academic talk and turn and talk with each other instead of turning and talking. I can assign through Google Classroom just to choose 2 or 3 students that can have a little chat about brainstorming questions and thoughts about what we're reading in literature. Step 4, you click the settings gear, and the reason you want to do that is because they'll name your wall whatever they come up with, but you're going to want your wall to be named something that matches the lesson. So when you click that gear, you'll see modify, and I named this Reflections of Old Yeller, and then my description says that we are sharing our thoughts. Step 5, in modify, there's some other important settings as you scroll down. If you don't want to assign through Google Classroom, which I'll show you how to do in just a few minutes, you have a link you can copy to your clipboard. For appearance, the wallpaper, they have some choices, and you can choose your own, just like if you were changing your wallpaper on your desktop to a photograph or something that you found that matches a theme. The color scheme, of course, is choose whichever you like, and then the same thing with the font. Another important setting in Modify that is very important, I'm going to hide myself because I keep getting in the way, is attribution right here. And what that does, it puts the student's name above their post. So I like to know who is typing things to see their thoughts on the topic or how they're understanding something. And their partners, if we were doing just 2 or 3 sharing collaboratively, would want to know who said what too. I don't approve their post because there's a filter right here for profanity, which I do turn on. It should be yellow, just like this one. I just did not get it turned on for this presentation. But when I assign something to a class, you better bet I've got this turned on, because if they choose some language that's not so nice, it will replace that with some nice emojis. So they monitor that for me. That's why I don't approve the comment, and I can quickly delete it if I'm reading them. Now, here's the answer to the question of how to assign to Google Classroom from Padlet. We were first using this icon. Now we're going to use share. You go to share, and under change privacy, you have a lot of different options, and you can read those, but keep scrolling until you see share on Google Classroom. They will have their assignment in their Google Classroom Morning Language Arts or whatever class you choose, just like you went to Google Classroom to start with. And you didn't have to do that, though, because you can do it straight from Padlet. This is a screenshot I took of a former class posting on a wall in a before activity with Liberty's Legacy, a patriotic citizenship program that we have. Excuse me. And the question was, how do people promote freedom? And Hudson put, people promote freedom by making a statement, but notice he's got a picture, and notice that all the students have a picture. Now, when the student is typing, if they don't go ahead and click to share it on the wall, they will see these options down here. This one's to take a screenshot. A lot of them thought that that would be what they would use to add a picture. But it's actually this, and you can add a picture, a GIF, a video. So it's really great.
And you should see a paper that says compare and contrast with 2 short paragraphs and a Venn diagram on the bottom. As you can see, I have highlighted some keywords. You can pause this video and underline and highlight those, or you can do it while I read. I'm going to read this to you, and I want you to follow along as I do so. Mars and Earth look very different. After all, the surface of Mars is covered with a red mineral and therefore is called the red planet, while Earth is covered with blue oceans and green land. There are other significant differences as well. 2 moons orbit Mars, while 1 moon orbits Earth. It takes Earth about 365 days to orbit the Sun, while it takes Mars 687 Earth days to make a complete revolution around the Sun. The most obvious difference is that humans live on Earth, while no life is known to exist on Mars. Despite these noticeable differences, unmistakable similarities exist as well. Both Mars and Earth contain polar ice caps made up mostly of frozen water. Mars is tilted on its axis, while Earth, like Earth, causing it to have seasons similar to Earth's seasons. Mars and Earth are also similar in terms of their day lengths. A Martian day is just 39 minutes longer than an Earth day. Okay, so at the bottom of this paper, you will see a Venn diagram. We all should be pretty familiar with the Venn diagram. So we are going to label each circle and the middle. So on this side, I'm going to label this one Mars, and this side Earth. And in the middle, I'm going to write the word both. So what we're going to do on this side is notice and write down some things that we've noticed about Mars and how it is different than Earth. So in the first paragraph, when you go back up, I noticed that this first paragraph mainly talks about the differences in the 2 planets. And the second paragraph talks about the similarities. So if I'm looking for differences between Mars and Earth, I'm going to go up to this first paragraph and see what I can find. You will need to reread some of these sentences like I do. It always helps to go back and reread. So, the very first sentence says Mars and Earth look very different. After all, the surface of Mars is covered with a red mineral, while Earth is covered with blue oceans and green land. So you can write that in your Venn diagram. So I would write Mars is covered with a red mineral. And it said Earth was covered with blue oceans and green land. Now, the next couple of sentences says that 2 moons orbit Mars while 1 moon orbits Earth. So I'm going to say it has 2 moons and Earth has 1 moon. Okay. If I'm writing or going too fast, just remember you can pause this video and pick up where you left off. All right, the next couple of sentences says it takes Earth 365 days to orbit the Sun, while it takes Mars 687 days. So on Earth, since it listed it first, I'm going to go over to Earth and write takes 365 days to orbit the Sun. And under Mars, it takes 687 days. Now, the last sentence says the most obvious difference is that humans live on Earth and no life is known to exist on Mars. So I just wrote humans and no life. And when you're doing these Venn diagrams, it's important to know that you do not have to write the entire sentence, just enough of the information that lets you know the differences between the two. Now, like I said earlier, the first paragraph mainly talked about the differences, and the second paragraph, it talks about the similarities. So one of the main key words that you'll see in the second paragraph is both and similar. So it already says right here, both Mars and Earth contain polar ice caps. So you could just write, but under both, contain polar ice caps. And we'll skip down to the next sentence. Mars is tilted on its axis like Earth. So you could write, both are tilted on axis. Mars and Earth are also similar in terms of their day length. So you could write, both have similar day lengths. Now, this is a very short 2 paragraphs, but it is enough, or it lists enough information to let me know the difference between Mars and Earth and how they are the same. Okay, so now that we have finished this page, we're going to go ahead and flip to the next page. You have 2 more stories. Now, just like the 2 stories that we just read, these go together, and Bailey, A Star in Indiana goes together. So I encourage you to read both of these stories. And just like we did with the Cam Newton and Russell Wilson, you have another graphic, you have another Venn diagram, and I want you to write the similarities and the differences between the two.
Hello, Mrs. Walker students. My name is Mrs. Freeman, and I'm going to do an extension activity with you on comparing and contrasting. We're going to use a fun web app called Padlet in order to do this activity. The first thing that you will do after you view this demonstration is you will go to your Google Classroom. When you go there, you will see in your assignment Padlet, Great White and Hammerhead Sharks. Below here, you see it again with the Padlet web address. Before we click this tells you your directions, but the directions will also be on the Padlet web app. The directions are that you will read a passage and you'll write and post 2 similarities and differences in Great White and Hammerhead Sharks. If you're at home, you have this in your packet, and your teacher has given you the passages if you are at school. All right, let's get started by clicking here, or I will get started, and that's what you will do when you take a turn at this. Let me delete this because I need to show you how to do that. On the Padlet page, you'll see my name, Marlene Freeman, and the passage again. If you click it, it's bigger. To me, it's a little blurry, so you may want to read the paper. But if you like reading it from here, you can reread it from here. Here's your directions. We had the directions when we were at Google Classroom, but again, it tells you to write and post 2 similarities and differences between the 2 types of sharks. And use your packet at home if you're at home, or the passage given you at school. The way you post your similarities and differences is you go to the plus sign at the bottom of the page. Here where you see my name, your name will appear. You type the title again, just as it is typed beside you, or in the post beside you. Then you click where it says write something. And I'm not going to put a response because that is your assignment. I will just type your response goes here. Now, another neat thing about this is that you can add an image, a GIF, a video, and other things. There's so many possibilities with Padlet. For this assignment, you're going to click here. You would think an image is the camera, but it's not. You click here, and the title is in a search for you, and you're looking at images. Now, videos can be very long, so for this assignment, unless you were given an independent assignment, not an assignment where everyone's post is going on the Padlet wall, for this assignment, you can add just an image or a GIF and nothing else. Now, I've looked a lot with this title up here, and I don't see images that have both the hammerhead shark and the great white shark together. So I will just have to pick one or the other. Also with GIFs, same thing. Now everybody's going to love this one, but I hope we're original and come up with some variety. I want to encourage you not to use cartoons, something not related to the topic, such as Great Tony the Tiger or a Shark Tank guy. I want to encourage you instead to pick an actual image, not cartoons or such things as that. I'm going to pick an image instead of a GIF, and I'm going to pick one that shows a hammerhead from underneath because I think that's so odd and interesting how that is shaped. Now, we are about finished. Actually, we are with the demonstration. You will go to your Google Classroom, like I said before, and click the link. Then I'm going to delete this so that you can see again that you click here to add something. Now you see delete right here. If you're not happy with what you did, don't just keep adding more posts because that will have your name 2 or 3 or 4 times on the wall, and we only need your response one time. So if you don't like what you put, click delete. Then you can click the plus sign again and do what I ask you to do. I hope you enjoy Padlet. Have a great day.
Hey everyone, I'm Miss Music, and this lesson is Summarizing Informational Text, Part 1, How to Summarize. Here's the standard we are going to cover from this lesson. Determine the main idea of a text and explain how it is supported by key details. Summarize the text. Here's our I can statement. Here is what you are going to be able to do from this lesson. I can summarize the text by finding the support. Okay, now, did you realize? There's something about summarizing that you have done before that should be familiar. Did you realize that a summary is the main idea and supporting details? The only difference is that you are writing it down in your own words. When you summarize, you are telling someone the main idea and supporting details because that's the most important part of the text. So in your previous lesson, when you learned how to determine the main idea by details, when you are telling someone a summary, you are telling them the main idea and details because that's the most important part. So when you give someone a summary, you need to know the main idea and the details that support the main idea. That is what you would tell someone if they asked you what the text was about. So how do you know what's important and what's not? Well, kind of like I mentioned a minute ago. The main idea is important and the key details to support it are important also. Anything that's not the main idea or anything that's not a supporting detail to the main idea, that is considered not important. And that is something that you do not want to put in your summary. So let's look on the left-hand side. If I'm writing about what tigers eat, which one of these details is important to the main idea and which one is not? Okay, so here we go. If you look at my graphic organizer on the left-hand side, I have the main idea in the box at the top, and I have the supporting details at the bottom. All right, let me exit out of here so we can see it a little better. Let me move it over. I'm going to slide this one up so we can see it. Okay, here we go. All right, so if you look on the left-hand side, I have 6 details. And only 3 of these details are going to support my main idea. And I've already given them to you for an example. So again, at the top, what tigers eat. That is my main idea. So if I was reading the text and I wanted to know the main idea, that is going to be what the author wants me to know, what tigers eat. So I'm going to pick 3 details that are going to support that main idea of what tigers eat. All right, so the first one, tigers are carnivores, which means they only eat meat. Okay, does that tell me what they eat? It does, so it supports my main idea. Tigers eat large animals like deer, cows, pigs, and more. Okay, again, that supports my main idea because it tells me what they eat. Next one, tigers may eat up to 88 pounds of meat at a time. Again, that tells me what they eat. Not specifically what they eat, but it tells me how much they eat. That's still going to support my main idea. If you look on the left-hand side, let's look at some of the ones that don't support my main idea. So let's look at the very last detail. A Siberian tiger is the most common tiger seen. Okay, that does not support my main idea. That does not tell me what tigers eat. That tells me one of the most common tigers, but that would not support my main idea. That would be a detail that would not need to be in your summary. That is considered an unimportant detail. All right, let's look at another one. All right, if you look at the very first detail, it says tigers live between 20 to 26 years old. Again, that does not support my main idea of what tigers eat. That does not tell me what they eat. So again, if you were reading all of this in a text, you would not want to put that detail in your summary. Okay? All right, let's look at the next slide. All right, so how do you write a summary? So how exactly are you supposed to do that? When you write a summary, you write the main idea and the details, but you put them in your own words. That is the most important part. You do not want to copy the details from the text word for word exactly how they are, because those are not your words, they are the book's words, okay? So you want to use your own words. All right, so if you look on the left-hand side, here is my summary. So you want to start with the main idea first, and I've put that in red. Okay, so you always want to put your main idea first in the very first sentence because the reader will know exactly what the main idea is when you put it first. They'll know exactly what the point of your summary is. All right, and you see in yellow, I have my 3 details. So basically, again, it's the main idea and the 3 key details. You put them together in your own words, and there's your summary. So if somebody asked you what the text was about, what's in the left-hand corner, that is what you would tell them. And I want you to pay attention to how I've put these in my own words. So the main idea is what tigers eat. So let's look at what I put in red. If you've ever wondered what tigers eat, it's meat. Okay, so you can see how I put that in my own words. I did not put in my summary, I did not put in the very first sentence what tigers eat. All right, let's look at the next sentence. Tigers are carnivores. That means they only eat meat. Well, if you look at my first detail, tigers are carnivores, which means they only eat meat. I changed that up. I kind of put it in my own words by putting it into 2 separate sentences. I did not copy it exactly. All right, the second sentence, or the third sentence, tigers eat deer, cows, pigs, and many other large animals. So let's look at this detail. Tigers eat large animals like deer, cows, pigs, and more. So you can see I added a little bit to that sentence that the detail did not have. All right, let's look at the third one. Okay, tigers may eat up to 88 pounds of meat at a time. Look at my very last sentence on my summary. Tigers can consume as much as 88 pounds of meat. Okay, instead of saying the word eat that was used in the detail, I put the word consume. So as long as you change the sentence a little bit, use your own words, don't copy it exactly how it is, that'll be a great summary. Okay. All right, so we have an assessment. So you're going to do some independent work on summarizing informational text. So it says, go to the Language Arts Google Classroom for the Summarizing of Informational Text assessment. So complete that assessment and click Submit, and you will be finished.
Hello, boys and girls. My name is Mrs. Freeman, and I am going to add a little to your lesson that you just went through with Mrs. Music. We're going to do an extension activity using a web page called Padlet, and you will practice summarizing using Padlet. The way that you will get to your assignment is you go to your Google Classroom. Mrs. Music has placed it for your class under your Language Arts, and you will see Padlet Summarizing. The directions are, click the link to respond on Padlet. You will read the passage on Elk River. If you are learning at home, it is in our packets, and if you are at school, Mrs. Music has given you the passage. So you have the passage and you have read it, and now through Google Classroom, you will go to the web page called Padlet. All right, here you see the passage that you have already read. This page is called Padlet, and it's like a bulletin board that we stick Post-its on, but it's a digital bulletin board, and the way you stick your Post-it on it is you type up whatever you're asked to do. In this case, we're asking you to type a summary. So what do you do on Padlet? You go down, let me lift my screen up a little so you can see that plus sign. You go to the plus sign in the bottom right, click, and then you see my name right here, but because you entered through Google Classroom, your name will appear here. Then I and everyone else, because I will project this, or Mrs. Music will project it if it takes a while, will see your post on the wall. You can title it the same thing that it is titled on the post next to you that I wrote before. I'm sorry, I'm not typing that right. Elk River Summary. And then where it says write something, over here I put write your summary here, and that's what you do. You'll write a summary. So remember the things that Mrs. Music taught you about summarizing. Find the main idea and the most important key details, and then write that in your own words. So your response will go here. I won't write a summary because that's your job. Now, a real neat thing about Padlet is that there's so many things you can do with it. Mrs. Music and I and some other teachers are exploring all the opportunities and adventures we can take with Padlet. However, I'm going to teach you one more thing you can do that's pretty neat. Down here are some options, but I want you to click this. When you click this, you will see images, but it bases the images on the title of your assignment, Elk River Summary. So I think summary might have thrown that off. I do see a river. I see a few rivers, but I don't see any elk. And I don't know what a lot of these pictures would have to do with Elk River. So there's elk in the snow. So another thing you could do is you could just erase Elk River and just leave elk. Erase part of it and just leave elk and then hit go. And then you see lots of elk, and some of these elk are beside or near a river. I think I see water there, definitely there. And you can go on to another page if you didn't like the images there, but we're all going to add an image to our post. There's options to add videos, GIFs, audio, web. We're not going to do any of those. When we do assignments that are just for a small group and maybe it's a project, we might use some of these other options, but the entire class is going to post on this wall and we don't need to take up too much space. So we're just going to pick an image for right now. I'll pick an image to demonstrate what it looks like on the page. I'll go with this one. And there you go. So when you make your Padlet post, you will copy the title that you see here. And then you will write the actual type the actual summary here. Don't pick your picture before you write your summary, because if you run out of time, this activity and points are based on your summary. I would like you to manage your time and maybe come back in the morning during early work and add a picture if you didn't get it added today. All right, here's another thing I want to show you. Let's say that you're not happy with what you wrote for your summary. If you will click off of the post of yours and then come up here where the pencil is, you can click edit. And then that way you can change things that you need to change. Let's say that I don't want the word goes anymore, so I just get rid of it. Now it says your response here, and now I'm happy with it. The thing you do not need to do is say, oh, I messed up, or oh, I don't like that picture, and just keep adding posts. We only need your name on here one time, so don't keep coming to the plus sign to add because you think you messed up. All you have to do is make sure that excuse me, that wasn't the right thing. All you have to do is make sure that it's not highlighted, and if you'll come up here, you can delete it this way. So if you need to start over, delete it so we don't have your name on here several times. And that is how we use Padlet to respond to literature. There are other ways and subjects to use for Padlet, but today that's what we're doing. I hope you enjoy using it. Have a great day.